Hey everyone, welcome to Wax Pack Wisdom. I'm Jake T. O'Donnell. Today I'm going to share a pickup that I made at the Best Flippin' Card Show in Woburn, talk a little bit about the experience today at the show, and then I'm going to do my top 10 cards I want to add to my collection in my lifetime. I know that there have been a lot of great videos around this and a lot of great cards that are on people's long-term want lists, and I figured this would be a good chance to do that. So let's talk about the show today, Best Flippin' Card Show in Woburn. I go to see Matt from Providence, my hit list co-host, and it's because otherwise it's a show that is very heavy on Modern and Pokemon. Nothing wrong with that. It's a busy show. It's always a busy show. There's always tons of people in there. But Matt is the go-to vintage guy at those shows. There's a smattering of vintage at other tables, but nothing significant. Matt is the single vintage dealer, really, who focuses on that at the show. So I got there today, and Matt and I had already kind of agreed I was going to sell him some cards, and I did. I sold him those graded 68 Topps cards that I had shown in a previous SGC reveal, and a few other things that I kind of was ready to move on from. And we did a great deal. Matt gave me a very fair price for those cards. And then he had something that I wanted, adding to my Diamond Stars Hall of Fame run. Whoop, almost dropped the card there. It is the 1934 to 36, specifically the 1935 Diamond Stars of Hall of Fame Yankees second baseman Tony Lazzeri. And just a gorgeous, clean example. I think I know who sold Matt this card, and maybe they'll pop up in the comments of this video. But this is such an incredible example. You see, it's the blue ink example on the back. The Diamond Stars backs are printed in either green or blue ink. They did green in 34 and part of 35. They did blue in part of 35 and 36. So you can tell this is a later run from the 35 season of just one of the great Hall of Famers of this era of Yankees, many-time world champion, years over, and just a gorgeous example to add into my Diamond Stars Hall of Fame run. This was the only pickup I made today, and just really happy to add this. Lazzeri, of course, a member of the 27 Yankees Murderers Row, and was on, like I said, a bunch of really good Yankees teams through the 20s into the 30s. Played for a couple other teams late in his career. He retired. He unfortunately died young. He died when he was 42 in the mid 40s. He had had a heart attack. There's some thought that maybe he actually had an epileptic seizure that led to a fall that led to his premature passing, very sadly. He did not get into the Hall of Fame for many years. It was 1991 he was put in by the Veterans Committee, so he did not live long enough to see himself get elected to the Hall of Fame. I've also talked about Tony Lazzeri on this channel. If you go back to our Grover Cleveland episode that we did, very famously in 1926, Lazzeri came up with a chance to give the Yankees the lead late in Game 6, I believe, or whichever game it was, and Grover Cleveland Alexander comes in the game and strikes him out to end, I think it was the seventh inning. So that was kind of not the greatest moment of Tony Lazzeri's career, but probably one that he was sort of most remembered for. And but again, in the same lineup with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and then later Bill Dickey and other guys. So not to be forgotten, just especially as a second baseman, he put up really strong numbers and is a Hall of Famer. So, man, I'm just loving these Diamond Stars. I'm realizing that, this is kind of the way that I have been doing my collecting, is that I want to get memorable, important players in the games for different in the game for different eras. So I have all my Leaf cards for guys that were really big in the 40s and 50s, and then all my Diamond Stars guys for a lot of guys that were big in the 20s and 30s, and then fill in other cards, other eras. I've been doing T206 and Caramel cards for the, around 1910, that era. So this is just how I've been doing my collecting. So that leads into the discussion about the 10. Oh, actually, sorry. Before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about the show. spent a lot of time behind the booth, behind Matt's booth, just for a few hours with Matt, his dad, and his cousin. Had a great time. Shout out to Ryan McClanahan, who's a longtime commenter on the channel and is an active participant in a lot of live streams. Spent quite a bit of time chatting with him today. Great collector. Really enjoyed spending time chatting with Ryan today. And a great time at the show overall. Again, thanks to Matt for always being so generous and letting me hang out behind the table for a while today. Next hit list will probably not be this coming week, but it'll be the week after. It was a great time. I can understand. I don't have any plans to set up as a dealer at shows myself. I don't really have a lot to sell. I like to keep stuff in my collection. I have sold a lot less this year than I did like last year, for example. As I think I've gotten better at honing in on what I actually want in my collection. But I understand the allure of it. It is just not just from a selling cards and doing that standpoint. It's fun. It's fun to talk to people. It's fun to talk to other collectors. It's fun to hear what other people have in their collections or things that they're trying to sell. I really enjoyed it. So thanks again to Matt for letting me hang out today. All right, so now let's talk about the top 10 cards that I want in my collection. I have my list right here. Like I said, a lot of people have done a great job with their lists, and I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon. I think a little bit late. This was a request from Mike Moynihan of Baseball Collector for things just getting some I think good discussion in the community, fun discussion in the community about what cards we want to add to our collections in a dream scenario. And I'll go with Darren Return to Collecting, saying that this is what, instead of talking about what I want to get before I die, which is a little bit morbid, and I've had enough of that in the last year plus of thinking about my own mortality. I want to look at it in terms of the cards that I want to own in my lifetime. And one of the great things that came out of some of the discussions with this, especially Tony Southern Collector, Mike Petty, Greg Midlife Cards has mentioned this as well on all of their YouTube channels and various discussions, is this never say never mentality. I don't know that I'm ever going to own any of the following cards, but I am never going to allow myself to think that I will just never own them. I know that like sometimes these things can seem like they're out of your grasp, but if you have the ability, if you have the means, if you have a little bit of luck, you never know. So never say never, and you never know that someday maybe I'll have all of these cards in my collection. It's not something I'm banking on. It's not something I'm expecting, but we can always hope, right? So that's what this comes down to. It's about the sort of the dream of owning cards that mean a lot. And so I have 10 cards, and this list is by no means exhaustive. There's plenty more than 10 that I really want. But I was really thinking about it, and these were the 10 that I decided. And I'm going to present them in chronological order, not necessarily in the order that I want them the most. But it's almost all pre-war. The first 7 are pre-war, and the last 3 are post-war. So let's get into it. So let's talk about this. So the first card on my list chronologically is the 1888 N162 Goodwin Champions King Kelly. I did buy a N28 Allen and Ginter King Kelly at the National, but I think this is like one of the coolest, best looking, greatest cards ever made. The background, the sort of the stormy clouds in the background, and the great image of one of the great ball players of this era. And of course, he's in a Boston uniform with this. So I absolutely adore this card, and it would be a dream to own one someday. Even though I do already have a King Kelly, it would be great. I would certainly add this one and have that one it alongside the Allen and Ginter. So that's a big one, number one. Number 2, this is a card that I've wanted for a while, that I've mentioned many times on the channel that I want, and I do hope to find the right one sooner rather than later. It's the E90-1 American Caramel of Cy Young in the Red Sox uniform. And this would be the Cy Young for my collection, the playing day Cy Young for my collection. I just have not come across the right one, or one that was available. Either, I've seen some maybe that have sold. I remember at the National, there were maybe a couple of these that I came across, but nothing that I felt like really pulling the trigger on. It's a gorgeous card. It's a beautiful example of. It's a great image of him of Cy Young, and it's in a Red Sox uniform and has that amazing red background. So hopefully I'll come across the right one someday. But this is one that's very high on my list. And again, I hope to add it sooner rather than later. All right, next is I'm going to talk about Honus Wagner. I am very much wanting at some point in my lifetime to add a Honus Wagner card to my collection. It's very difficult because of the fact that his cards have such a premium, because the one set that was the most prevalent set in during his lifetime that had the most cards is the T206 set. And as we all well know, there's not very many Honus Wagner T206 cards. And that one, we're talking never say never. I have to be realistic. That one I have to say probably is a never. But that doesn't mean that I won't try to add a Honus Wagner to my collection at some point. And there's a lot of different ones of his that I really like. The one that I'm settling on for the purposes of this list, and there may be other ones that come up that I would have. If you ask me what's like sort of my favorite image of him on a card, and the one I'll say here is the throwing image that is on his E90-1 American Caramel. The same image is also on his E101, his E102, and his E92 cards, and a few others, I think, later issues. But I adore this image of him throwing with an incredible sunset in the background. So this is one that I would just be absolutely thrilled if I could add a Playing Days Honus Wagner to my collection. But there'll be I would take just about anything I could get reasonably. That's an image that I like of his, and so that's the Honus Wagner that I would go for. All right, here's one of a guy who I have a couple of his Playing Days cards already, but this is one that in recent months I've kind of decided that this is like a long-term goal of I want to own this card, and that is the 1912 T227 Ty Cobb from the Series of Champions Minors Extra. There's a couple different backs on those, but there's 4 baseball cards in this set. And I already own one of them, which is the Home Run Baker. I bought that at the National. And there's also Rube Marquardt and Chief Bender. And I'd like to get all 4 of those cards. I'd like to add those. And the Cobb is by far the most expensive one, but it's an incredible yellow background, amazing image of Cobb. It sort of epitomizes a little bit of his hitting style, the way that he's like kind of doing like a little bit of a half swing. And I'm trying to just pull up the image. It's almost like you kind of see that it's kind of, to me, that symbolizes a little bit of his ability, his bat on ball ability that made him so famous and made him the all-time hit king for many years and the all-time batting average king for many years. But I'm a big fan of that card, and would love to add one to my collection. Next is a card that I brought up when I talked about my 10 most iconic cards, and that is the 1933 the 1933 DeLong Lou Gehrig. I have mentioned before that I really would like to add the 34 Gaudy Gehrig. I think it's a bit more economical than the DeLong, but I could go either way, and I'd love to get the DeLong. I think it is the premier card from that set. It is the premier Gehrig card, in my opinion. It is so iconic. He's larger than life in the picture, and that's kind of how he was as a player as well. So I really want to get that card, and I'd like to get the 34 Gaudy as well. But the 33 DeLong Gehrig is high on my list. Speaking of larger than life, really want a Playing Days Babe Ruth, and there are many options. I could go in a lot of different directions with this. Maybe at the end of the day, I end up going with one that's a little bit more obscure. But at some point, I would love to add the 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruth number 149. Just want to make sure I got the number right, of the red background. What more can you say? A Playing Days card of Babe Ruth from kind of near the end of his career. 1932, the year of the called shot. So the next year after that, he's still very good at this point. He kind of drops off pretty precipitously after this. 1935, his last year is with the Boston Braves. And then so there's that one for the 33 Ruth. Next, there's going to be 2 Ted Williams cards I have on this list, and the first one is his rookie. Is his 39 play ball rookie. This is as a Ted Williams collector, this is a massive card for me personally. I have not come across the right version of the right copy of this for me. I've not felt super motivated to pull the trigger. It is an unbelievable card, a fantastic image of the young Ted Williams, and just I don't think that my Ted Williams collection, even though I've been focusing a lot more on the sort of tougher issues of his, I don't think my collection would be complete if I didn't have his rookie card. Honorable mention on this to the 39 Gowdy Premium, which I did talk to Ryan McClanahan about that card a little bit today. The 39 Gowdy Premium is an unbelievable card of Ted Williams's, and I would love to own one of those someday. But man, that is tough. Those don't come up very often. But just for the purposes of this, we'll talk. I'm going to say 39 play ball. Really, hopefully, want to add that someday. All right. So now, like I said, there's 3 post-war cards. The first one, the 49 Leaf Jackie Robinson. I've gone back and forth on this. I would say this is not a huge priority for me to add this card, but I think about like how iconic Jackie is. The fact that this is kind of considered his rookie card, and the fact that I have that whole other Leaf run of all of the other Hall of Famers that are non-short prints in playing days. Once I get the DiMaggio, then the other one would be Jackie Robinson. And why wouldn't I want to have it? Why wouldn't I want to have one of the most iconic cards ever? That was on my iconic cards list as well. So, 49 Leaf Jackie. It's on my list. I do want to own it someday. Then last two are Red Sox guys. The last of the 2 Ted Williams cards, 54 Wilson Franks Ted Williams. I think this card is absolutely fantastic. The amazing swinging image of Ted, the hot dogs in the card, you gotta love it. I had reached out to somebody who had one at the National. It was cut from an advertising sheet. I'd never really seen that before. I got to find out a little bit more details about that. But amazing card, and just would absolutely love to get one of those someday. And then the last one. I'm thinking about the other guy that I PC as an individual player that I PC a lot, and that's Yaz. And so what's like kind of a Yaz card that's really high on the list of ones that I want to own that's tough to come by? And I settled on the 1969 Topps Super, Carl Yastrzemski. There's a very low population on this card. Maybe it's about 150, maybe less, and very hard to come by. I rarely ever see these. There's a very limited run of when they were made. So I'm hoping at some point, this is almost sort of like the grail of a Yaz PC, is to have his 69 Topps Super. There's plenty of other stuff too. There's, I guess I would love to have like a Venezuelan rookie of his, but that's not a huge on my priority list. I have a Venezuelan. I have a 64 Topps. There's other stuff that maybe is even more rare, but for the purposes of this list, I'm going to mention the Topps Super, the 69 Topps Super. Okay, so that's what I got. Thank you to Matt again for this card. Beautiful and a great deal. I got some money that's going to go in my pocket for Shriners, I would say. And hope you guys enjoyed my list. Let me know what you think of them. If there's any overlap or any of those ones that you would be on your long-term list, let me know. Check out where to follow us on social media. Check out our list of favorite nonprofits and charities. Also, please check out our ComC store. It would mean a lot to check those out. And yeah, the nonprofits and charities list, we really appreciate it if you could check that out. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Wax Back Wisdom. Take care.